Welcome now to Saints in the Shadows. Hear the stories of the saints, learn about things you never knew. See if you can figure out who the saint is before the end.
All right. Well, this one is a little past due because I had it ready to go for last week, and that didn't happen. So, but I did promise you that if for this week we'd have one that was a little easy, and so here you go. Saints in the Shadows, the Silent Guardian. Before the songs and stained glass, before the nativity scenes and carpenter's bench souvenirs, there lived a man who carried greatness in his arms, but never once proclaimed it in writings or speeches. In fact, not one word of his has survived. No speeches, no prayers, no recorded dialogue, only deeds. And that, perhaps, is tonight why we will call him quietly, reverently, the Silent Guardian. He lived in a small village with a large history. Nazareth wasn't much to look at, just a scatter of limestone homes and dusty lanes. A place the big cities mocked. Yet it was here that the Silent Guardian worked with saw, chisel, and plane. His hands were the kind that remembered every splinter. His muscles learned patience. His work was honest, steady, and rarely noticed. People knew him as a righteous man, but not the brittle kind of righteousness, the kind that snaps when bent. No, he was a flexible righteousness, warmed by mercy. That mercy would soon matter, for one day, word reached him, word that should have broken him. His betrothed, Mary, was with child. Not his, not possible, not explainable. In that world, such news could destroy a woman. As the Silent Guardian had every legal right, every social expectation to expose her. He chose not to. He resolved, quietly, deliberately, to protect her from shame, to release her gently, quietly. No drama, no accusation, just kindness. But that night, sleep brought more than a rest. A messenger of God spoke to him, not with riddles, but with clarity. Do not fear to take her into your home. The child is holy. The child is entrusted to you, entrusted to him. A craftsman from a small town? A man whose greatest possession was a good name and a good heart? But the Silent Guardian didn't argue. He didn't protest. His greatness was not in what he said, but in what he did the next morning. He took Mary as his wife, and with her, the task of raising a child who was older than creation. That kind of responsibility could crush a man. It refined him instead. There came a decree from Caesar Augustus. Registrations, travel, disruption. The Silent Guardian led Mary south, mile after mile, to David's city, Bethlehem. No room, no welcome, only a stable, only straw. And in that lowly place he held the child for the first time. The hands that shaped wood now cradled the word made flesh. But the peace didn't last. Another dream, another warning, another command, acted on without hesitation. Herod wanted the child dead. The Silent Guardian rose before dawn, packed what little he owned, lifted the child, studied Mary, and led them into the night, into Egypt, no less. The land of Israel's ancient oppressors became the sanctuary for its Messiah. And still the Silent Guardian said nothing. He simply kept the child alive. Years later, when the danger had died with Herod, he brought the family back to Nazareth. When the boy was 12, they traveled to Jerusalem for Passover. On the road back, the child was missing. Panic surged. They retraced every step. 3 torturous days later, they found him in the temple, speaking with scholars who marveled at his words. Mary spoke. Jesus spoke. Scholars spoke. The Silent Guardian listened. He lived his whole life in that posture, attentive, ready, steady. Scripture grows quiet about him after that. Most believe that he died before Jesus began his public ministry. We might wish we had more stories, more truths about the Silent Guardian, but one truth matters. He disappeared from the stage the moment his task was complete. As the child grew in wisdom and stature, the Silent Guardian faded, content to diminish, content to be remembered not for himself, but for the one he had protected, taught, and loved. That is a strange heroism in a world that rewards noise. For all his silence, all his hiddenness, all his lack of recorded speech or dramatic miracles, the church across the ages and continents came to revere him, not as a man overshadowed, but as a man entrusted with the most delicate, impossible vocation, to be the earthly protector of the Son of God. The church calls him guardian, because that is what he was. Not a talker, not a fighter, not a king, a guardian. And this silent guardian, of course, had a name whispered in stables, a name carved into chapels and cradles and hearts. His name was Joseph, husband of Mary, guardian of Jesus. Saint Joseph, the guardian of Jesus. And that's actually typically the title of the day. Now, it's typically celebrated on March 19th, which would have been, would have that been last Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, yeah. I think. So that's typically when you would celebrate St. Joseph the Guardian. He's almost always overshadowed by St. Patrick because everybody thinks about St. Patrick.
Yeah. Well, St. Patrick has a gimmick. He's got.
Yeah, well, he's got it. Yeah, he's got the gimmick.
He's got the whole getting slosh thing. So
yeah, well, he's got that. So, but anyway, but he, this is actually kind of an interesting thing. But this was actually kind of a big deal. Like Saint Joseph, the Guardian, is celebrated on all calendars, and it is. In both of my books, like I said, I usually look up like Drinking with the Saints and Dining with the Saints. He's mentioned in both of them. And, usually it's somebody like St. Patrick that gets both days, but he actually got both days. The drink they had is called the Sazerac. I'm not going to give you the full directions because, again, copyright infringement, but it has absinthe, simple syrup, rye whiskey, and bitters with a lemon twist. Spelled Sazerac. So the Sazerac. You can go ahead and look that up if you would like. It is a legit recipe. And then the other one is actually interesting as well. The dish, if you will, that they have is called St. Joseph's bread. And the reason that they have St. Joseph's bread is because St. Joseph is during Lent. But unlike St. Patrick, it's not considered like a high festival day. And so the fast that normally accompanies Lent is still in effect. And for a lot of people, that means no meat. And so there's a specific type of bread that you can make to celebrate St. Joseph's Day. And it's just called St. Joseph's bread. So you can look that up and make a recipe and make a batch of it however you see fit. And and kind of enjoy that. Again, we're kind of past the day, I know, but again, I couldn't help it. Again, it was just too, in my eyes, it was kind of too big to kind of just completely skip. So I wanted to kind of bring it. And this is also the one I wrote about and published in the written Periscope, by the way. So you may have read it already, although in the written edition, I don't think it has the drink or the recipe in there. So yeah, then there's that.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, let me ending music.
And so it ends. The light shines in the shadow. And now you know more about the story of one of the saints of history.